This is Nuance. We are live. I'm Mike Scala. I'm an attorney and an MC. I'm the newly elected chair of Queens Defenders. I'm also still counsel and legal advisor to Queens Link. So repping Queens in multiple ways at this point. I'm joined, as always, by Jay Carter, also known as Timid, the hip hop artist and the chair of BLM Tokyo. What's going on, Jay?
What's good? What's good? I'm just looking at this clip that you sent over.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
got it on mute right now of this man breakdancing at the town hall meeting in I guess New Jersey.
Right, right,
Like he did a backspin and everything. Like he
right. And
and
people in the crowd looked nonplussed.
at just didn't care at all.
I wonder if they're used to his antics at this point. Maybe he's done a few different attempts at going viral before
Yeah,
because he's a candidate for council out there.
a candidate for count. Like okay, like how does it? Uh, because it wasn't even that good. Like first of all. If he was like amazing,
Yeah.
then okay, I can see maybe that could help boost your numbers. But you were just also bad at it. Like now you
Yeah.
look like you're crazy.
Right. Yeah. I definitely agree with that aspect of it. I think it was just an attempt. And in this case, it succeeded to go viral, right? Because it was on the news, it was everywhere. People were sharing it, millions of views, whatever. So I guess it raises attention, right? It generates publicity for the campaign, which can be capitalized on. It doesn't mean voters will be voting on his breakdancing skills per se.
No, no, no. But I'm sorry. If I saw it, I'd be like, yeah, this dude's lost. This he doesn't have all his marbles.
Because he was bad at the breakdance.
I mean, I can't hear what he's saying, so but yeah.
All he
I
said,
mean,
I think, is why did our taxes go up? And he said something like, "You guys said you weren't going to raise them, whatever." He was complaining that his own taxes were going up, and I guess that's why he's running for office because he wants to do something about that. So breakdancing had nothing to do with the taxes. Obviously, it was just a way to get attention.
okay. I'm sure it definitely has to, it's definitely going to give more context, but I'm like I said, just looking at it with the sound off here,
He
it
just looks like a
just,
nut job.
yeah, he looks like a nut job. I will give him
And then he does a
the
moonwalk, right? He moonwalks away at the end.
yeah,
Yeah.
the backspin wasn't too bad, but yeah,
Okay.
I'll have to watch this afterwards, um, because it does look like he's in this interview, it does look like he seems to be like kind of coherent, when he's talking with the news people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's more context here, but just off of the silence and watching him do that, it just, yeah, it's like, wow.
That reminds me of the old Seinfeld quote: "I'm not offended as a Jew. I'm offended as a comedian." Do you remember that?
No.
Okay. Yeah, there was an episode where his dentist converted to Judaism and then started telling Jewish jokes. And Seinfeld said he was offended by that. This guy just turned Jewish and he starts telling Jewish jokes. But he was offended because the jokes were bad. And that was like the punchline of it. It wasn't that,
Right.
right? He was like, no, he's like, I'm offended as a comedian, right? So it's kind of like that. Like you're not offended politically, you're offended hip hop wise.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. That's probably what it like it's giving me flashbacks of the breakdancing at the Olympics and that woman from Australia.
Right, right. That is true. She kind of ruined it for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah,
So,
honestly, I'll be honest, I kind of had some of that feeling as well when I watched this video. It was like almost a mockery, right?
yeah.
Not it's not only because he's not good at it, but I think the fact that he's not good makes it read almost like he's making fun of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it didn't look like an honest attempt to be good at breakdancing. It almost seemed like, him making a joke of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. And
Well,
it's weird times, man. Weird times.
speaking of being offended, I was offended by Google AI. I told you this
Uh-oh.
when I was
Oh yeah, your Google your Google's a hater, man.
Google's a hater. I was typing in, hey,
Your Google's a hater.
Google AI. I was typing in that I had just become elected chair of Queen's Defenders, and I was asking it for any tips just to see what it would say. Like, as a new chair for a nonprofit organization, anything that I should keep in mind? And we were, mostly out of curiosity, right? It's like what it would say. Um, it came back. It is highly unlikely that you were elected chair of Queen's Defenders. I'm like, damn, Google.
Yeah, that's hater because then I tested it and I told ChatGPT and my Google AI that I was elected to Congress. And it was and asked the same question, and it was
Right.
all supportive, and it was like, yeah, congratulations. To get the ground, hit the ground running, you should focus on some of these things.
Wait. So you asked Google AI also? I thought you asked ChatGPT.
I sent the prompt to both.
Okay. And they both,
Yeah.
wow. Wow.
Yeah, yours
What
is
is that?
specifically a hater. Why does Google hate you?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good question. And I'm wondering if it's about me in particular, or if it would say that to anyone. You should tell it that you were just elected chair of Queen's Defenders. We'll see what
I
it says.
like I said, I did Congress. I
Congress, I
figured
know. But
uh,
why did it say it is highly unlikely that you were elected chair of Queen's Defenders? Is it a thing about Queen's Defenders, or is it about me in particular that it doesn't like?
okay, so I was just elected. What was your prompt? I was just elected as
Chair
chair
of the board of directors of Queen's
of
Defenders.
the board of directors for Queens Defenders.
Right. And I forget the exact prompt, but it was something like, do you have any tips for an incoming board chair?
Do you have any tips for an incoming board chair? I'll put it right now. I'm in Google Gemini right now. That's wonderful. Having served as a chair will give you a great foundation for an incoming board chair, especially in a nonprofit sector. Here's some key tips and areas
Oh
to
my.
focus.
So it specifically just doesn't like me. That's what's going on right now.
You,
Me.
specifically you.
Yes. Wow.
It does not like you.
I can't believe it said that to me. It is highly unlikely.
Yes,
They
I
told
did.
me to double check the organization that I got elected to. Like, I'm such an idiot. I didn't know which organization I was elected to. It was like, go back and look to see who really elected you, because it wasn't them.
Yeah. No, it does not like you. Now, wait, did you do this in Gemini or did you do this in Google search?
Google search, and I clicked on AI mode, I think.
Okay, so let's try this. I did it in Gemini.
Okay. Fancy you.
Yeah. Well, everyone's got Gemini. If you have a Gmail, you've got Gemini.
You sound like a spokesperson.
Yeah. Well, hey, they can hire me for some PR. I'm down for it.
That the tagline that you see on the commercial? If you got a Gmail, you got a Gemini.
Yeah. Let's see. Um,
It's like your AI twin, right? Gemini.
okay, so I just sent it in there.
Mm-hmm.
It searched a bunch of sites and it says, congratulations on your election as board chair of Queen's Defenders. Here are some tips for the new board chair to help you lead effectively. It's you. It hates you specifically.
Well, yeah. So it's like one of those "it's not you, it's me" things. It's me, apparently.
Apparently, it's you.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
So now I'm even more offended. What is going on, Google AI?
Yeah. Yep.
I went to
Absolutely.
ChatGPT. ChatGPT was friendly. It was like, congratulations. Here's what you should know. Google AI
Yeah.
was like, nah, it ain't you, bro. I don't believe you. You know. So here's my
Yeah.
question: is there a possibility that querying AI in this way, especially something like Google AI, could affect
Mm-hmm.
the knowledge, or the, I guess put that in quotes, right? The so-called knowledge of the search engine, right? Like, if you convince it that you were elected the chair, will that potentially start coming up in other people's Google searches? Yeah, Jay Carter is the chair of Queen's Defenders. He told me.
Hmm. Maybe.
I wonder about
Maybe.
because I think I
Uh,
read something about ChatGPT doing something similar, if I'm not mistaken, where people were giving it false information. Maybe, you know, maybe it was intentionally fiction, right? Who knows? They're writing a book or a story, or they're just playing around, whatever it is. Like, they're just kind of putting stuff in there that they know isn't factually true, but ChatGPT was convinced was true. And I think, unless I'm doing like one of those AI hallucinations, but I think I remember hearing that at some point someone was getting information from ChatGPT that was fed to it by another user, which wasn't true.
um, Yeah, I haven't heard about that, but there are different ways. I mean, you can convince ChatGPT and any of them to kind of give you the output you want. And I did this as an experiment and as an example
Yeah.
to someone uh, who works at one of the universities here in Japan, and I was showing him like you can basically lead it. And so I got ChatGPT to tell me that Jesus was evil.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I was like, the one, you think of as that has that image of supposed to be the Prince of Peace and all this and that.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I let it to give me why. And because the reason is because the AIs are programmed to serve you. They are programmed to give you what you want. And
They're
so
programmed to give you a dopamine hit.
right. And so, I started with the prompt. Why was Jesus evil? And of course, it starts out and says,
Nah, yeah, yeah,
most people don't agree that Jesus is evil. Jesus was this and that and all the good stuff, right?
yeah.
And then you know, you keep pushing it a little bit, probing it. And then I got to the point where it was like, listen, you keep dancing around to this. Get to the point. I didn't ask you about this. I asked you why Jesus was evil. So now it knows it thinks this is the output I want. And so
Yeah.
now it's going to rationalize how to give a response that fulfills that request.
Makes you happy.
Right. And so that's what it ultimately did.
Wow. Wow. And what was the purpose of this exercise? Just to see if you can get it to agree?
To show that it could be led in any way that you
Okay.
want.
It
Your
sounds like a
prompt.
good practice for lawyers, right? Or for
Yeah.
training lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
It,
it's definitely something that because he was what did he I forget what prompt he put in, and I was like,
who's
well, you
he?
convince it kind of whatever.
Who's
Sorry.
he? Who's he?
This is a teacher at one of the
Okay.
universities here in
Gotcha.
Japan.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
reminds me, I did something like that once about the afterlife, and I was saying something like, can you square people's conceptions of the afterlife with science as it currently stands now, or something like that? Right? Can you square two concepts? And it basically tried to shut me down, and it was like, no, science is science, and people's idea of the afterlife is a fairy tale. It has nothing to do with reality. I'm like, okay,
yeah, the initial one will probably give you the closest to an unbiased
right,
answer, but
right.
then the more you push, it's going to try to please you and give you the answer that you want.
Yes. So I did one with dinosaurs using credit cards. And
Right,
I asked it about dinosaurs using credit cards and said, no, of course not. Different time
right.
periods, they didn't have that technology. And I kept pushing on the point. And
Yeah,
it did start to cave a little bit the more I would push it. Right.
right,
And so eventually, I don't know, I would come up with some like really crazy hypothetical scenarios, and it would be like, no, that didn't happen. And I'm like, well, what is more likely, that happening or dinosaurs using credit cards, right? And it would be
right,
like, well, I guess it's more likely dinosaurs use credit cards, but they really didn't, and I'm like, oh, well, you just admitted there's a chance, and so it's more likely than some other things happening, and it kind of like you kind of keep going along that route, that eventually it's like,
right,
I guess it's possible, right?
right. And that's kind of one of the things I'm bringing up. So I'm doing a webinar workshop in a couple of days for the like the wellness community about AI and using AI. And this is part of what I'm going to bring up is that, you can lead it. So if you're trying to consult with it for answers, you need to be very careful about the prompts that you put in because you're not going to get the responses if you put in certain opinions and things. Like you should lead with facts. And so you should be aware of these things. But ultimately, in any other case, you as the human should be the final word on whatever it is that you decide to do.
Here's something I was thinking about recently also. Do you think there's going to be a phenomenon? I think it's already kind of happening to some degree, but I wonder if it's going to be an actual phenomenon that we start talking about where people are performing, in a sense, for AI because they know that whatever AI thinks, whatever perception AI has of them or whatever they're doing is going to dictate or influence how others view them, even if they're not seeing the thing.
What do you mean?
So now when you Google things, right, when we just talked about it, there's this AI mode, right? So you can ask it a question and then the AI will give whatever it thinks the answer is to what you're searching for. But it is pulling up sources from different sites that it's finding on Google, like, right? So,
Right.
it's searching available sources on the internet to inform its answer, and then it's coming back with something. So I'm wondering if people will try to manipulate that by doing things that create some kind of source for AI to pick up on, even knowing other people may not be looking at that directly. But when other people ask about something related to it, AI will give them that answer because they purposely manipulated the situation such that AI would see what they were doing, or they colored the situation so that AI would be able to respond a certain way when that overall topic comes up in Google.
You mean to like kind of not necessarily taint the search results, but kind of
Yeah, to influence the
to
response
influence.
that come up.
Well,
Yeah,
I think there's remember how people used to like Google bomb? And so, for example, there was the classic example of Rick Santorum,
right. Yes.
right? And so they basically made it so that whenever you typed in Santorum, the this troll site would be the
Mhm.
first result, and it was kind of derogatory towards Rick Santorum.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind
Um,
of what I'm thinking, but with AI now.
well, there is, so in the SEO kind of space, which is the
Mhm.
search engine
Mhm.
optimization space, it's always been about optimizing your content and your website to show up in search results, Google being
Right.
this, that. These days, because AI is doing a lot of searching for people, there's a growing type of strategy of these, what is it, AI optimization. So to try to
Yeah.
tailor your
That's
content so
kind
that
of what I'm thinking about. Yeah, yeah.
tailor your content in your site so that AI pulls it in. Like you try
Right,
to tailor the
right.
content to something that it looks for.
And I saw someone say recently, if ChatGPT doesn't know who you are, then you're nobody. Like you have to like try to get before. I guess it's a goal now people have, especially if they're in a business or something like that. They want ChatGPT. So, for example, if I'm an election lawyer in New York, right, I want to get
Right,
to the point where if anyone types in who are the best election lawyers in New York, my name will come up by ChatGPT. Like that's a goal. And so I think they are, like you said, they're using, I guess, AI optimizations, what they're calling it, but they're trying to find ways that AI will see you and recognize you.
yeah. I think they're calling it's AEO,
Okay, that
answer
makes
engine
sense.
optimization
Wow.
maybe,
Wow.
or
I'm also thinking of it in a negative way, though, like the Santorum example. What if you wanted to have AI give negative opinions of a certain politician or candidate, right? I mean, I can see that being done in kind of a diabolical way where opposing campaigns or rivals put things online, create a fake website or something like that. I don't know, put something online that Google is going to find. And then
right,
when someone else asks, oh, what's this candidate all about? AI pulls it up and it acts like it knows what it's talking about, but it's just pulling it from the source that someone planted there. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
this person is very deeply disliked, or this person has some crazy view that they don't have, but they're reporting it as if it's fact because they're pulling it up from the source that was put there. It's like, it's done in a manipulative kind of way.
Right. Well, there's people can do that. Quick correction, it's AIO, artificial intelligence optimization.
AIO. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Um, so people can do what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was a search engine, just Google search,
Right.
there's a better chance of, I believe, of that happening because, you just put some of the SEO signals in there, maybe you get a bunch of links in there, and then you can kind of inflate the importance of what this article is. With AI, there is a reasoning component
True.
to the content. So I don't think it's going to be as easy to manipulate in that way. I'm not saying that it
I've already
can't.
kind of seen it though. When I was Googling things, right, looking things up, and the AI response comes in and it will give me an answer as if it's the authority on the subject, right? But it's
Right,
basing the answer on maybe one source. Now, maybe there aren't that many sources available for the subject I'm asking about, but nonetheless, like
right,
you'll just find like maybe one page on the internet and it'll tell me as if it's the gospel truth now based on
right.
whatever someone put on that website. You know what I mean? So I mean, I've seen it in action. I'm not saying that was done
Right.
in a deliberate way to deceive or manipulate, but I'm just saying seeing how it can report things as gospel based on very little information
Sure.
or sourcing to back it up, right? It
Yeah.
makes me worried that it becomes ripe for manipulation.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, you also have to constantly question it.
Yeah.
And again, you have to be the final line, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not gospel. It's yeah. And that's what I think
People
people
are
are.
increasingly though relying on it as if it is, and they'll tell you. You can
Yes.
ask them. You can ask them. Do you know that they make mistakes? Oh yeah, yeah, I know. But nonetheless, right? They're going to persist in using it as if it's true all the time, especially if it suits their narrative, right? If they have a hypothesis on something and they can get AI to tell them they're right,
Right.
they'll use that as proof.
Well, also a couple of months ago there was an article that came out. There's a growing, probably alarmingly so, but there's a growing number of users who use it to the point where they can't make decisions without running it by ChatGPT first. You know,
Yes.
this is what I want to do. What do you think of this idea? And they get that opinion before going on to actually doing any of it.
I saw on the news recently someone committed suicide. I think it was a teenager who committed suicide, and they use ChatGPT like a therapist. And
Yes.
the family is now suing OpenAI, I
Right.
guess it is, because ChatGPT gave the kid an answer saying you shouldn't discuss these suicidal feelings with your parents.
Yeah, see, when those reports happened, there was also another report where there was a an older man in his
Mm-hmm.
60s recently who took to ChatGPT to find alternative ways or to find ways to cut down his sodium intake. And
Right.
and according to the report that it suggested he take sodium bromide, which is toxic. And he
Mm-hmm.
found himself in the hospital.
Wow.
But the thing is with these reporting, they never show the conversation. They never show the prompt. I want to know what the prompt was. Because if you ask any of
Mm-hmm.
these AIs, yo, what can I take to reduce my sodium intake? Or even, how about sodium bromide? It's going to tell you, most times it's going to tell you, well, it's toxic, you shouldn't take it. But as I was saying earlier, you can lead the prompt
Right.
to make it tell you what you want it to say.
Right.
Sodium bromide was a toxic condition that used to happen a couple of hundred years ago, right? So maybe what was his line of questioning? What was something that he was telling it?
That's how it would play out in court, right? The plaintiffs would probably just want to show you the smoking gun, so to speak, right?
Right,
Like the prompts or the output really that
right,
ended up being dangerous, right? Or causing some bad things to happen. But then the
right.
defendants would want to zoom out probably and say, well, what was the whole context of the conversation?
You got to.
Right. But then the court would have to consider, I guess, how the reasonable person would interpret all of that, right?
Yeah. Well, it's to me, I just want to see the prompt so I know, like, how did you get there? How did you get to that point?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not saying that it's not possible that that spit it out, that this guy's a liar or anyone else is a liar, but it's probably important to know how they got there, so
But
that
even so, though, you still have to ask, I think, where to draw the line of accountability, right? Even if
right,
these people were leading Chat GPT on, let's say, with the line of questioning, right? Asking
right,
leading questions, like we say in the law. Does
right.
that excuse the AI or the makers of the AI from liability? Right. I mean, maybe at a certain point, maybe depending on how egregious it was, but maybe not.
Right.
Right. I mean, just because they're asking leading questions doesn't mean that it should be spitting out dangerous answers.
True. That's very true. But I think it can, at the same time, I think it can be helpful to know how those answers got, and especially for the programmers, the
Sure.
developers, to
Sure.
know how that conversation got to that point to where the AI may have suggested this. Okay, how did it get to that point?
Right.
What can we build in to make sure it doesn't get to that point? I think there was and I haven't verified this, but I saw a video on it last night briefly about Meta's AI and how it was having sexual explicit conversations with teenagers. in their, 13, 14. And so they were being questioned over, why is this allowed? Why is your AI even engaging in these types of
Yeah,
conversations, even when it's told
right,
I'm a minor?
right. And even if the teenager is trying to get them to do so, it should be programmed to avoid that.
Yeah. So it's definitely, yeah, what was it here? Um, Meta AI rules have let bots hold sensual chats with kids.
Hmm.
This was in the news last well, I guess it's October here now, but at the end of August, middle of August. So they were being investigated over that.
Wow.
So
Yeah. I guess, look, I guess because we're still in the new, the infancy stages
yeah,
of this technology being what it is, not like AI itself is new, but where we are with it now, it's still,
right.
you can tell that it still has a long way to go, and the
Absolutely.
world is very new to using it as we do now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So um here's this may you may be able to take some solace in this.
Uh,
I just typed into Google Gemini, who is Mike Scala? And
I don't like that guy. He lies.
it gave me a couple. First, it gave me the musician and the activist, and then it said it could be a few individuals. The musician guy that you know about, and then
Wait, it
Mike
says the guy that we
Scala,
know about.
yeah, the musician guy.
It says the musician guy that you know about. That's what AI is saying.
No, I'm saying the you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So him, and then they gave a list, right? So it
Okay.
cited him, and the next it was you, Mike Scala, attorney and political candidate in New York, and it gave like some bullet points on your bio.
Okay. But
So you're AI famous.
it doesn't say Queen's Defenders though, because it doesn't believe that I'm the chair.
It does not say Queen's Defenders. It points out that you worked at the legal department of the New York State United Teachers and at the nonprofit for National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization.
It goes way back.
It says that you acted as legal counsel and legislative director in the New York State Senate,
Hmm.
and then it pointed out your candidate runs for the House in 2012 and City Council in 2017 and 2021. And it says you're involved in community organizations such as the Ozone Park Block Association and the Ozone Park Howard Beach Woodhaven's Lions Club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, see, this is
And,
what I
and that
mean.
you went to Polytechnic University in Brooklyn Law School, so it knows about you.
So it's got the whole bio there. But if I were to put out something saying, I mean, I put it on Facebook and Twitter or whatever. But like if articles came out, right, if something on web pages came out talking about Queen's Defenders, then all of a sudden it probably would be coming up in the AI bio as well.
Yes, probably would.
And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. And it wouldn't be like 1,000 sources. It could only maybe be a few different articles that it would find. And now it could tell you that as if it's gospel truth.
Right. Well, I'm looking here, like it's funny because it's citing the sources where it got the information from,
Mhm.
and the majority of the links here come from the Scala for Council page and for Ballotpedia.
All right. So it's only a couple sources, but it's building this response. And
Right.
is that most people will just blindly follow that. Maybe it is right more than it's wrong. I don't know. But still, I think there's a bit
Yeah.
of a danger there, right? When it's just
I'm sure.
presenting information as though you can take it to the bank and it's just sourcing it from a couple of different pages.
Yeah.
you know
So,
and like you said, one of them was a campaign page that we created.
right.
So
Yeah. So, um, yeah. So there it is. You're kind of AI famous there, bro.
well, that's good, but we still have to figure out why Google AI was hated.
Hates you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is highly unlikely. Okay, maybe
Yeah.
I should, what, let's flip that on its head. Maybe I should be flattered that I was able to achieve something that AI thinks is highly unlikely, right? That it's not very easy to do.
Yeah.
Because I did something similar with the AMA. Remember we did the Reddit AMA in 2012 and it kind of blew up on Reddit. It was on the front page. And I started getting a lot of texts from people back when I was still in law school. Hey, you went viral, bro. Everyone started seeing it. And then it kind of started a trend for a bit where candidates were doing Reddit AMAs. We weren't the first one, but we
Right.
gained a lot of steam doing that. And I do think that it inspired others to follow the trend. And I think I asked AI if it's possible that Obama was inspired by our Reddit AMA because he did one himself when he was running that year. And it tried shutting that down immediately. And it was like, no, no, he doesn't even know you. There's no way he's inspired by you. Like,
Your AI just is such a hater,
I'm
bro.
like, oh, but he follows me on Twitter. He did it like not long after ours went viral. Come on, like, don't tell me but then I'm like, all right, maybe I should be proud that I'm able to achieve things, right? That it thinks are so impossible.
Your AI is such a hater. And Obama, this is a shout out. Here's a message to Obama. You're also a hater. Apparently, you follow Mike. You also follow my sister. But I can't get a follow? That's just foul business, yo. What's going on? Why don't I get a follow? I'm not liking it. Not liking it at
Would you rather
all.
have would you rather have the Obama follow or AI not hate on you?
Um, well, at this
That's
point, I
that's
guess
right. That's my predicament. I got the Obama follow, but AI hates me. So take
you
your
know,
poison.
I'll take the Obama follow because I'm not ranking on AI. I typed in the same question for my name into Google Gemini,
Uh,
and it pulls up this Covington, Louisiana resident who pled guilty in May 15th to an indictment charging him with 3 counts of distribution of 40 grams of more fentanyl.
wow.
And dude's facing minimum prison term of 5 years and a maximum of 40.
And that's what thinks you are.
That's when I said who is Jalon Carter. Well, first this always happens in search results. It always thinks that it's a misspelling. It always
Right.
thinks it's a misspelling and goes with Jalen, Jalen, who
Mhm.
is a professional football player.
Okay.
I'm like, no, I gave you the spelling. Don't misspell the thing. This is who I'm looking for. And so yeah. So I'm AI invisible apparently.
Okay. So now that it thinks that you are a fentanyl distributor,
Right.
I wonder if it will give you a different outcome when you tell when you tell it that you were just elected chair or elected to Congress or something. It would be like, I don't believe you, bro. I think you're about to be in prison. You can share nothing except maybe
Right.
the prison book club.
Yeah. So that's it.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm AI invisible at this point.
maybe you're better off.
It could be, and some of it um is I would not say by design, but I don't put a lot of my stuff is online under pseudonyms.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so, a lot of it's under music and whatnot. Any other things I might have some dummy accounts that I go through. I
Yeah.
don't put a lot of stuff through my personal name.
Right.
And
Right.
that's, you know, I don't know if it's paranoia, not paranoia. It also comes from where I started from in the internet. You
Mm-hmm.
always went online with a pseudonym.
That
You
is
never
true.
went online with your
Yeah.
your real name,
Yeah.
you know. So
OG in the internet.
so I took out J-Lon, which should be more distinct, and I just put who is Jay Carter, and it pulls up a voice instructor, a musician producer from the UK, a hip hop musician.
I was gonna say, yeah, there is a producer, Jay Carter, but I think it's just a letter J, if I'm not mistaken.
No, this one here is a hip hop musician who is Italian American who was
Oh,
born in Italy.
interesting. Didn't know that one.
Yeah, I don't, and then a golf coach. So yeah, I'm
Okay.
I'm invisible.
And pretty soon it's gonna say also the newly elected Congress member from Virginia, right? Like it's gonna believe the stuff that you tell it and start reporting that back. That's what I'm worried about.
Right. So now here I put who is timid,
Okay.
and it comes up. He said, yeah, timid's identified as Jalon A. Carter,
Okay.
um,
There you go.
but not to be confused with Jalon Carter from the previous query. So yeah, not the fentanyl guy.
Not the guy we
Uh,
all know and love, right? But
right, right. Yeah. So
not to
Timid's
be
an
confused
indie.
with the fentanyl guy. That's great.
Timid's an indie activist known for intellectual lyricism. And then mention some of the people that I've worked with. Domingo, projects distributed by Raucus, Mikey D.
Okay.
But it seems like it's pulling all the information from rap reviews.
See, and there you go too. Another danger, right? Like if it's just one
Right.
source, it pulls it all from the same source, and that could
Um,
be an editorial, could be an opinion
I
piece.
may have to do a case study and just create a page
Yeah,
specifically about something and
yeah.
then yeah,
Make sure that it gets spotted by Google, right, and
yeah,
find its way into the AI results. I was also mentioning to you offline that I've asked AI about my vlog, right? My YouTube channel where I post my vlogs and
yeah.
youtube.com/Paisan. I got the 17 bar series going on. And Google AI is good because since YouTube is owned by Google, it will actually go into the YouTube videos, read the transcripts in a matter of seconds, not even split
Yeah.
seconds, and come back with a whole synopsis of your YouTube channel and your episodes and everything.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like it could actually give me a whole rundown of my vlogs, and like, what are the themes that Mike Scala are exploring on his new vlog series, and it'll start like listing them in real time. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool just from looking at the transcripts of the YouTube videos. But there was some hallucination in that as well,
Oh, sure.
because
Sure.
it talked about my first episode, and it was like in the first episode, Scala struggles with the idea of running for city council, and he's meeting with people, he's weighing the decision, and he's really close to launching a campaign on the bars to ballot party line. I'm like, that is completely fabricated. I don't know where it got that from, but it put that in the
Bars to
synopsis.
ballot.
I think bars to ballots party line. Yeah, I'm like, what is that? That was never in the
Dope.
conversation, and certainly not in the
Dope.
episode. But yeah, it put that in there.
Dope.
But see,
Dope.
and I don't know if someone else somewhere on the internet had that bars to ballots, and that's why I got confused, or just made it up entirely out of thin air, right? I have no idea where that came from, but it made its way into there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess we keep saying you got to double check what it gives you. I'm just cautious,
That's
right? It's just that
absolutely.
as we increasingly rely on AI, and you can see more and more people, like we said, whether we want to or not, right? You Google something, and it's like, here's your AI results, and I even ask for AI specifically, but it's just giving you AI output now.
Yeah.
The world is going to just, I think, increasingly start taking it all as true, and we see a lot of it is just made up or nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, you always got to be careful. You always got to be careful. Shout out to Threads, by the way. Um,
Threads, I've heard
yeah,
in a long
a
time.
post I put up like a day ago is already over 30,000 views on it. I guess it's
Nice.
kind of doing a viral thing. And so,
Okay.
yeah,
All
pretty
right.
dope.
Going viral on Threads.
You know what I mean? They've overtaken Twitter for monthly active users or daily
Really?
active users. That just happened with this past week.
Oh, because they're tied to Instagram?
I don't. I mean, that's how they jumped up pretty quickly. That was kind
Yeah.
of the strategy. But as far as daily users, so yeah, I guess they're having more daily users than Twitter at this point or X at this point. So
I usually just post baseball messages on Threads because I don't know what to do with that account. There's so many social media accounts. I'm like, I'll put my baseball thoughts here.
yeah, yeah.
So, all right, I'm going to try to fire up the TikTok live again. We did have two polls that we didn't go over
Yes,
the past few
let's
weeks.
get into these
Let's
polls.
get into the polls and see what the people said, and
Yeah.
interesting comments we can respond to.
Yes, yes, yes. So, all right. Well, let's pull back here. So we had two polls. So the one previous was about the free breakfast and lunch program that was happening in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Every student was going to be provided free of charge breakfast and lunch.
Yes.
And so, we talked about the benefits of that, and so we asked the poll, and interestingly, this was our most responded to poll.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about 360 votes on this poll. And the question was, do you agree that breakfast and lunch should be provided free of charge to all students in schools? Um, what do you suspect the distribution is here?
I would say it heavily favors yes. The question is, how many votes we say? 300 something votes?
Yeah, 360.
Does it
359.
get into the 90s? I'm going to say it does get into the 90s. I'm going to say 93%.
Wow, pretty good there. 94% said yes.
There it is.
6% said no. Yes. Um that's pretty high. And you know what? I mean, it's of course uh this is not a poll that a scientific poll by any means or whatever, but I wonder if that what that poll would look like if it was extrapolated out to the country as a whole. Like this is largely the polls we put are on daily polls, so it's largely kind of a liberal left-leaning platform. I would imagine the distribution would be quite different if it was open to everyone on, a general poll, because then you'd have like the other side who are like, no, pull yourself up by your bootstrap straps. Uh, so
Yeah, but I do think more people agree with this than not, even on the conservative side, because I saw when Governor Hochul announced it, the comments, usually on Facebook at least, the comments are flooded with people who disagree with her, people more on the right. And, they laugh, react to whatever she says, they hate her, worst governor ever, that kind of stuff. But on this one, most people were saying things like, first thing I ever agreed with you on, good job, is about time, that kind of thing. So I do think there is actually consensus on this issue, though I agree, if you're looking for people who disagree, you'll find it more on the right than on the left.
right. Yeah. So let's get down. Let's see. Let's see what some of these comments.
Yeah, very interesting comments. We are live on TikTok as well. We did
What up, TikTok?
figured I'd get back on here.
Yeah. So someone commented here. I haven't really read it yet, but thing is, whether public or private school, you not only still have some poor kids there, probably already very aware that they're different, and for their sake, consistency is good, but also the cost-benefit analysis when you take school lunch programs out of a vacuum, mark it as a clear benefit. And I think we did talk about some of that as how beneficial it is for kids to have breakfast and lunch. Studies have shown they perform better um, overall. And so, I mean, isn't that what we want?
You would think.
Yeah. So, um, let's see what we got. Someone here said, absolutely. My two stepsons lived with us for a year. I was working a stressful job and there wasn't a lot of money. This was two less things to stress about. Um, So surely there are parents out there struggling with various reasons, and they're having a hard time providing these meals. If people don't need it, then just don't have to eat at school.
Mm,
Programs will be adjusted to have accurate amounts of food. That's a good point. Like, making it available doesn't necessarily mean that they have to eat it.
right, right. I mean, it's interesting because people who didn't have the money were supposed to be able to access the food, right?
Right,
And we found ourselves, I guess, in a situation where people were struggling at least to pay, right? Parents, families were struggling to pay for their kids
right,
to have these meals. And so you have to ask yourself then, was the program really being implemented the best way? I mean, if it was supposed to cover people who couldn't afford it, why were so many people struggling and even going in debt in some cases trying to
right,
pay for it? I mean, does that tell you that more people should have been given access to it than who ended up getting it?
right. Yeah. One of the comments here said that the admin costs for schools to keep track of payments or have a payment system or payment cards, um, and the stigma of excluding kids, with all of that, it really is just cheaper to give the food out for free.
Mm. It's cheaper
So,
to give the food out for free than do what? Get the stigma?
then keeping track of the payments and having a
Okay.
system set up, like the bureaucracy that goes
The,
into
the admin costs
tracking
and
who
everything.
should give it, who shouldn't get it.
Gotcha.
Just like
Gotcha.
open it up for everyone.
Now I don't know if that's true or not in the long run, but
Yeah, it doesn't seem
food
like
is
it.
expensive. I mean, you got to keep buying food every week. You know, the admin,
Yeah,
sure, there are salaries and stuff like that, but it's not like those costs are
right.
compounding in the same way, right?
Yeah. So, another comment here, America is a wealthy country. We should feed our people. A lot of people agree with that there. Like, how can we be the so-called richest country in the world and have, such a high rate of poverty? And
Right.
it
Somebody
doesn't really
parent.
align.
Yeah. Shout out to the chat on TikTok. I see David, Tomas, Amy. What's going on, guys?
Yeah,
So asking about New York, they have passed a law and it was signed by the governor and really enacted as part of the budget this past year to enable everyone to get free breakfast and lunch at public schools. And even, by the way, non-public schools, if they're participating in the federal school lunch program. And so
right.
if they're in the program at all, they've got to make it available to everyone now by law. And most people seem to be agreeing that that's a good thing, right? That people should have
Yeah,
access.
I think so.
I
Um,
remember when I was in elementary school, I think it was over the summer, I would hang out with my friends, and some of them would go to the school every morning to get free breakfast. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they were in the program, right? Like they had signed up because of their
mm,
family income or whatever, they were entitled to get it. But their parents would send them to the school, even in the summer, right? When school wasn't in, to get the free breakfast because obviously it helped them
right.
bills in the family. They got their
Mm,
breakfast there. And a couple of times they invited me to come, and I wasn't in the program, but I was just hanging out with them, and they were like, "Come, this is where we have breakfast every morning. Come join us," type thing. And I don't remember them asking you to prove that you were entitled to it. I think everyone who just showed up got the food.
right. Yeah. Um, I think someone mentioned earlier in the chat that in California, I guess at least one area they have a summer lunch program also,
Mm,
like what you're talking about. I remember in school, first of all, it didn't bother for me personally, it didn't bother me that there were some kids getting free lunch. Like it's like, yeah, they might need free lunch, and it doesn't bother me. But I
right.
believe um they had a card, a special card that they had to show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chat, what is your experience with this? I see Carlos, number 4, 619 fit, Rain Mama Forever, normal. What is your experience with lunches, free lunches or breakfast at school? Did everyone have access to it? Did you have a special card? Were there programs for people who were low income? Were those programs fair, right? Were people still struggling to have their kids be fed, right? Maybe they weren't able to get the program, but you still had a problem with paying for breakfasts and lunch. And if that's the case, should the program have been changed? I mean, why should anyone be struggling? If you're
Right.
saying that you can afford it, but you really can't, right? What's the disconnect?
Now, one of the things that I kind of raise and some people raise is regarding it applying to private schools, right?
Right.
Where people
Okay.
are paying tuition, and if you're going to private school, generally these things aren't cheap, and so it should come out of the tuition instead of out of taxpayer
Mm.
funds because it's a private institution. But this program applies for private institutions as well if they decide to participate in the program, right?
Not right, not in this program, but I think if they're in a federal
Right.
program, right? So if they're receiving federal money to help pay for food for the students, they have to open that up to everyone and not just certain students who meet certain income thresholds or what have you.
Right. So one of the comments here says one has to remember that at some private schools there are scholarship kids. Their parents may not have the resources to give them a healthy breakfast and lunch. And I think we talked
We
about that
talked
as
about
well.
that. Yeah, there could be a merit-based scholarship. Yeah,
Right. They
they
could
could
just
be
be
there
barely
on
making it.
on financial aid, right? There are grants.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, doesn't mean that
Yeah,
their parents are rich.
absolutely. And a couple of people said, one said San Francisco did it. I've seen it in action and it's great. Someone else said Tim Walz did it in Minnesota. He's a good egg. He's good
Meaning
at.
he had the program, not he was getting free lunches.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, now someone here, this is interesting.
Hmm.
Uh, this comment, sure, they agree, but how will we pay for it? Nothing is free. But yes, I think it is a good idea. And then a
Hmm.
response was, we already do pay when kids go hungry.
Right, right.
So
Think
I
about
think, right. I don't think a lot of people, when we talk about paying for some kind of program,
it.
it's always how do we pay for that program? And there's not often a lot of talk about the the costs that come as a result of not
Of
having
not
this
doing it.
program.
Right. Perfect example, Queenslink, right? I always make that argument, right? Because we're trying to get Queenslink funded. And by the way, we did just get our federal funding back. That was awarded to us by the prior administration, right? It was frozen and we're now getting it back. So, that's a good thing. And as we're moving forward with it, the conversation always turns to, well, Queen's Link is going to cost X billions, right? Depending on how you look at it.
Right.
Uh, how are you going to pay for it, right? And I said, well, the cost is certainly a worthwhile discussion, but that discussion should not happen in a vacuum, right? We're already paying for not having Queens Link by losing billions of dollars in economic benefit that we should be getting and we would be getting if our city was connected and our infrastructure was modernized, right? And we were actually living in the century we were in. We're losing billions of dollars every year. And you can
Yep.
study that, you can put a number on it, put a price tag on it. And so, to your point, the question often isn't just how much is this thing going to cost, it's how much are we losing by not having the thing, and how much will we be saving? It's a cost benefit analysis. How much will we
Right.
be saving in the long run by having it, by making that investment?
Right. And someone quoted here Project Bread, which I think it's an
Bread.
organization. Yeah, it's an organization that helps to, I guess, to deal with food insecurity and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And they quoted a statistic from there, and it said that important excerpt from the site.
Yeah.
School meals cost $20 billion, but generate 39.5 billion in benefits to our society.
Okay.
Sounds like a great deal to me.
Yeah. I mean, the question is, how do you quantify that, right? But I'm sure there are numerous ways you can.
Sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure. But if we go off of that there, that speaks to that cost benefit analysis, right? That's a good return on investment, you
Right,
know?
right, right. Absolutely. Right. And like the commenter said, we pay when students go hungry, right?
Yes.
What about the benefit of more students being properly fed and being able to devote their energy and their efforts to their classes, right? Becoming better educated as a result and being more productive members of society in the long run, right? How much benefit are we gaining from that? How many businesses are we going to see created as a result of that? How much innovation are we going to get, right? How much
Absolutely.
better off are we going to be financially in the long run by making this?
Absolutely.
And some of these things can be hard to quantify, right? Because it is, I guess, on some levels a bit speculative. You can't really know for sure what it's going to be in the future. But you can
Right.
certainly study the data that's out there. I mean, we certainly have plenty of data over the years of not doing all this. Uh,
Yeah.
so I just got a text projectbread.org. So that's the website. Oh, there you go. Um, so yeah, there is data out there to look at, right? And
Right.
it's important that we look at that and not just be short-sighted all the time.
Yes. Yes. So, um, and then there's also the benefits like, if the school's providing it, there's generally going to be guidelines that make the food or at least kind of balanced in a way.
True.
Whereas
That's a good point.
right, and there are definitely benefits to that. If the kids are healthier, receiving healthier meals, there's going to be better, better health. There's going to be less medical costs or issues, and in the long term, that also helps things. So,
Sure. So I don't think we have to mandate that kids eat the meals the schools provide, right? If
no.
parents want to send them to school with their own delicious lunch, that should be up to the family to decide that, right? I wouldn't want like a monitor going through all the kids' lunches and saying you can't have this here because it's not nutritious enough.
Absolutely. I think it's yeah. The option should be there.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can still feed your kids can still be fed before going to school, but the option should be there if needed. So
Or they can bring in some delicious foods to school, can't they?
sure, why not?
If I think yes. It should be a choice. If the parents
Yeah,
send them to school with unhealthy snacks and sodas and things they probably shouldn't be having all the time,
yeah.
I just don't think that we should be saying that they can't have it. That should be up to the parents to make that call.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, last comment here. Free breakfast and lunch for all students is one of the few things in education that has a straight trajectory to
Factory.
better grades and knowledge retention without
Yeah,
exemption. There have
yeah.
been studies on this things.
It's a really
It
good
is an,
cause to champion, I think.
I'm sorry?
I think it's a good cause to champion.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I think that's what Project Bread, one of the things that they do. And they further went on to say that it's an inexpensive in the context of a school budget and easier just to feed everyone whether they can afford it or not. And it should be a 12-month policy whether school's in session or not. That's a interesting thing. So that just means all kids should be provided breakfast and lunch at all times.
At all times. Okay.
That's much more extensive, I think.
Is it much more extensive? I was adding a couple more months to the calendar here. I mean, school is in session more often than it's not, right?
Yeah, I guess if I
That's
guess I'm
summer
thinking,
school.
where would they go to get the meals? I guess they'd still
Cool.
could go to the school.
Yeah, that's how it was. I'm telling you, when I went to elementary school, the school that I went to was 2 blocks from my house. And I never thought to do it, right? I never went there in the summer. When
Right.
school was out, school was out. I wasn't going to go back into that building until September. I didn't want to go back in there. But my friends I was
Absolutely not.
hanging out with on the block went to the school in the summertime every morning for their breakfast. And they said, you should come with us. And once or twice I did. And yeah, they were just giving out breakfast to everyone who went there. And I think that might have been a
Right.
program, but they weren't asking to see your card at the time, right? It was just, here's a tray, take it.
Yeah.
And people were sitting
So,
in the cafeteria and getting their food and then leaving.
yeah. So interesting conversation. Overwhelmingly, people said yes, and I tend to agree. I think, yeah, there's more benefits than drawbacks to the
So,
program.
do we have any interesting comments from people saying no and giving reasoning aside from who's going to pay for it?
No, I
No.
didn't see any no comments on here.
Okay. Chat
Yeah.
on TikTok. Let me know your thoughts on providing free breakfast and lunch to all students, not just public school students, really, but all students, and even year round now, as is being proposed.
Right.
See Aniel, Larry Dillard on the coast, Leo, Jim Armstrong, Lance, Tony. What's up, guys?
Go to YouTube at Nuance Show. Subscribe to the channel.
Yes, and see the full episodes.
Yeah, leave
Of course,
comments,
leave your thoughts in the chat here as
debates.
well if you're joining us. So
Absolutely.
we had a second poll we want to go over as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, so we had a second poll, and this is from last week.
Mm-hmm.
We we had a pretty extensive conversation for about an article that was put out by a think tank called Third Way, and the
Yes.
article was called
Oh,
"Was It Something I Said?"
yes, yes, yes. And the theme
And
was these are words that Democrats should stop saying.
yes,
I got a
Democrat.
few comments on my social media over this, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I posted it on mine. Facebook kind of is iffy,
yeah.
sometimes people see it, sometimes they don't see it.
Right.
So,
Right.
um, yeah, I didn't get anyone that responded yet to it.
Okay. I know I got a Republican who's trying to be a smart aleck saying just
Uh-oh.
let Democrats keep talking, please. That's what they said.
Oh boy. Um, yeah. Do you need a mirror, sir? Anyway, so
The
the
woman
poll
actually.
So the article they broke down things like therapy speak, that people shouldn't use therapy speak, they shouldn't use jargon, shouldn't use seminar room language,
Yes.
um, gender orientation correctness type of language, and some of these things because the idea was that not that they're incorrect, but that they are turning people away because people don't talk like this normally. So you can sound like you're talking over someone, you can be confusing people, you can just be further making a disconnect between you and them. And so this was the debate here when we went over these. And you know what? Just before getting to that, it's kind of interesting. I think on the same point, if you've
Mhm.
ever seen the recommendations for writing, especially when marketing or blogs or any kind of writing,
Right.
the recommendation is that you write at the flesh reading ease of eighth grade level because it's the most uh,
Whoa.
accessible.
Did you just say flesh reading ease?
Yeah, flesh or fleisch, flesh,
Oh, okay.
F-L-E-S-C-H.
Fly like
Right.
Fleischner?
Um, it's the Flesh Kincaid level.
Flesh Kincaid. There you go. Okay. I thought it was Fleisch though.
There's no I in it though.
There isn't?
No, no.
Spell it again?
Flesch.
Oh, okay. I guess it is
Right.
Flesh.
So it's always recommended to write at about an eighth grade level because it's the most suitable for general audiences, and that people can easily understand it.
When I
So
was in eighth grade, this is just a quick sidebar, but when I was in eighth
you
grade,
were in eighth grade? Yeah, hey, me too.
when I was in eighth grade, there was a banner in the top of the classroom, an English class, that said, always write more formally than you speak.
Right. Yeah, sure. I could agree with that.
Yeah. So they weren't advising us to dumb down our writing, but
I don't think it's more dumbed down. I think it's when you speak, you don't always speak grammatically correct and in a proper flow. But in writing, you tend to need to,
you're
right?
supposed to. Yeah.
You're supposed to. I think that's different than saying that you know, you write at an eighth grade level because it's readable. It's the
Well, the
readability
question is,
improves.
when you say eighth grade level, I mean, what do you mean by that? I mean, are these eighth graders who have breakfast and lunch every day?
Well, these are eighth grade. I mean, eighth grade, you're listen, you're completely fluent in the language.
Could be.
It's meaning not talking about, some of these
Yeah.
special jargon language, right?
Eighth grade. Okay. So they're saying like, that's, it's kind of hard though, as someone who's been out of school for so long to think back to what does an eighth grader know versus a ninth grader. But what they're trying to say is don't write at a high school level, write at a level someone in middle school can understand.
Well, I think it's just more about your word choice. Like you
Sure.
don't have to it's like the example we used last week, right? It's, saying eye doctor instead of like optometrist, right?
Mhm.
Um, they're both common words, but one is much more accessible and easily understood by more people.
Right.
Right. And it's one can sound more like it's technical jargon. So
Sure. So should you never write optometrist then?
if if you're trying to reach the most people, maybe not.
Interesting.
So
I guess it
so
depends on the audience, right? If it's a more scientific or technical
right. Absolutely. If you're in
publication,
a
right? Or yeah, if you want to be peer reviewed in some scientific journal, then you're not going to say I went to the eye doctor.
right, absolutely, so here we have this article from
Hmm.
Third
Yeah.
Way, talking about all of these different things, the different jargon examples. We're using words like systems of oppression, existential threat, shifting racial oh no, what was it? Intersectionality, Latinx, and then that other word that neither of us had really seen before, carceration instead of incarceration, which is kind of
Right.
stupid, but anyway. Uh,
So these are
so,
words I wouldn't even expect to be heard in high school. I would think this is like
right,
some snobby college course that you're hearing these words.
right, exactly. Which would, so the poll question we put out was, do you agree with the list of words that Democrats should avoid using that was published by the think tank Third Way?
Mhm.
What do you think the distribution of yes and no
Ooh.
was on
Okay.
this?
Well, how many votes, first of all?
This is about 100 votes.
About 100 votes. I'm going to say right off the bat, it's going to be lower than the previous poll. So we're not getting into the 90s here.
Hmm.
Um, interesting. I'm going to guess, ooh, 71% said yes.
Very close, very close. 68% said yes, that they agree. 32% saying no is still quite a sizable portion of the audience to
Right,
disagree. And
right.
but it's not really unexpected because I would think again, this is a left-leaning site.
And I think some of the comments that we've read on there have used these words in the past.
Right. And so some of the people are gonna be people that may use these types of
Yeah,
phrases, but I think
yeah.
I think you would also catch some people falling through the cracks that can't separate the ideology of what it's talking about versus the words used to describe it, right? We're not
Speak
talking
on that.
about
Speak on
what
that.
I mean by that, we're not talking about saying that intersectionality is not a real thing that
Right.
shouldn't be discussed, that doesn't have application. We're talking about not using the word intersectionality, using more plain language to describe that same sort of
Okay.
condition.
Okay.
Right. And I think some people won't be able to separate that. And you're gonna get a handful of people who are like, oh, you're saying that intersectionality is not real.
Right. Right.
I'm
Right. Right.
I'm, you know.
Right. You're
So
playing to the
that
bigots. We heard that last week. You're playing to the bigots.
yeah, yeah. So let's get into some of these comments here. First comment right off the bat. What words does one use when teaching elementary school kids fairness, equality, kindness, etc.? That's the language we need to use.
You
We
kind of
all
just
just need a
used
hug.
those words already in your comment.
What's wrong with fairness, equality, and kindness?
Nothing. He just asked, what words should we use when teaching? The words that you just used.
Oh,
You just did it. Kindness,
he
fairness,
said,
nice,
yeah,
politeness. Yes, nice. Be kind, right? Be courteous. Yes. Use those words.
yeah,
It doesn't mean you have to bring up intersectionality and systems of oppression and whatever other else of jargon you said.
right. Simple words are always better, of course, but the key point is not to signal to listeners you are following a belief system they reject.
That's part of it too, right? People will tune you out
Right,
immediately when they hear certain buzzwords or words that have been politicized to an extreme degree.
right.
Right? If you
Yeah,
want to bring people together, and maybe people don't, right? Some people just gave up on that and they were like, listen, we're happy retreating to our own corners. But if the goal is
right,
to add, not to subtract, as I say, right? You want to add, not subtract. I think you want to use language that isn't going to be politically divisive. You want to kind of speak in plain language that people will rock with.
right. Yeah. This person said that, yeah, they agreed. This other person agreed and said, you send some of these negative messages when you use this language.
Mm.
And I'm gonna defer to you because I think you are the resident expert in this area. He said, "Remember Roddy Piper in They Live when he puts the glasses on?"
No, I
Well,
don't.
yeah, well, regular voters are wearing them all the time and they see through the surface words to the message beneath. So I'm deferring to you because I'm not a wrestling follower. I do know
That's a
who Roddy
movie.
Piper is, but
That's a movie, and I never saw that movie.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cat,
So,
let me know. Have you seen the movie They Live?
yeah, what happened when Roddy Piper put on the
Apparently, he put the glasses
glasses?
on. I'm guessing people got turned off by how smart he was trying to make himself look or sound or something.
Or maybe he put the glasses on and he saw through the outside facade or saw to look deeper or something. I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
From the way I heard that comment, it sounded more like they're saying that people won't respond when you act all high and mighty.
Right. So they finished off their comment by saying, to be fair, I kind of think that politicians already tend to avoid them. It's the surrogates and the analysts and a significant section of the talking head class that use them, but the damage still splashes back on the party.
I think that's true to a certain degree.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
said, I rolled my eyes so hard that I gave myself a headache when I got that direct message on Twitter from a candidate saying she's running a campaign centering. As soon as I honestly, I don't even, I couldn't tell you what came after the word centering in that sentence because as soon as I saw the word centering in the middle of that sentence, my eyes rolled back so far in my head that it actually gave me a migraine. So that was a candidate using the word centering and expecting me to take them seriously.
I'm gonna get you a t-shirt that just says center in the
I
middle
make
of
the
it.
text off center on this t-shirt.
Yeah, right. This comment here kind of, I guess, speaks to what you're saying there. They followed up saying, "I've never encountered some of those terms, but I do agree that when many Democrats begin speaking, I despair. Whether it's in prepared speeches, interviews, or even sometimes off-the-cuff statements, too often they recite boring, insincere drivel."
Hmm, okay.
Uh, yeah.
So,
Here's the Okay, go ahead.
so is that basically an appeal to populism? Are they saying that Democrats should do what Republicans tend to do now more of, right? Which is just use plain speak. I mean, kind of what we were saying when we said don't be too fancy with the words, but you know, there are levels to it. How much are we going to reduce ourselves to? Are we going to talk like toddlers, like some people do on the other side, or you know what I mean? Because you don't want to come off as a phony intellectual, right? That seems disingenuous and holier than thou. But I think you also want to carry yourself with some intelligence, right, and some class, some dignity. You know what I mean? So, how far down the pole are we going here?
Yeah, but I don't think using big words necessarily equates to class and dignity, right? It's all about your message and how you're delivering and
But are we
connecting with
saying
people.
don't use some of these big words?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, so you can still carry yourself with class and dignity and not use big words, I think.
Right. But I guess I'm asking, where do we draw that line? Where do we find that balance? Because we don't want to sound unintelligent.
I don't think you would sound unintelligent by not using big words. You
Not
just be
right, right.
more
But you
accessible.
can go, but I'm saying you can continue down that path to the point where you're speaking like a toddler, essentially.
Well, you don't want to go out on the campaign trail and talk like a caveman, you know.
But you do hear that a lot from
Vote,
people on the right,
vote
right?
me, vote me good. You
I
don't
mean,
want to.
but you do see that kind of messaging, all jokes aside, from people on the right a lot, right? It'll be like, a commercial, vote me, I have the gun, that kind of thing.
Fair enough.
Me, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm in Jeep. I have Jeep. Vote me. Do you want to reduce yourself to that level, or do you still want to be able to speak intelligently about the issues that we face?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think, you know, maybe we can look at that the flesh Kincaid reading level type of example.
yeah,
Uh, it still is well written and comes off intelligent. It's just not using words that would be more associated with an SAT test.
sure, sure.
Things where you have to look for the prefix and the suffix and try to guess the Latin root to figure
Uh,
out what it means.
By the way, I was just talking about the campaign commercials. You do see the candidate for governor in New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill. She likes putting her commercials with the plane on TV to show that she was a
Mm,
pilot in the armed forces,
mm,
and that resonates with voters. She is the Democratic nominee for governor now, and polls are showing it's a close race, closer than you would think it might be, with the Republican candidate. And one of the reasons, people might think this is silly or petty, but I'm serious. I think I might have touched on this before. One of the reasons is she doesn't come across as someone from New Jersey. She's running to be governor of New Jersey. I think this does speak, to what we're talking about here, having people relate to you, right? Using words and language, rhetoric that people in your constituency can rock with. Well,
right.
she continues to say on day one, I'm going to lower your costs. And I really believe a lot of
This
people,
is something that bothers you.
well, I'm not in New Jersey, but I believe a lot of people in New Jersey look at that and go, she's not one of us. We don't talk like that. Nobody says costs here. Why does she want to be governor of our state? She doesn't know how to speak like she's from the region of the country. I really think this is part of the reason
Hilarious.
why the vote is as close as it is right now, because they might be looking at the other candidate and going, I don't think I agree with him on his policy necessarily, but they're talking trash on both sides. I don't know. All I know is I look at this other candidate and he sounds more like someone from New Jersey than she does.
It's possible. It's definitely possible for
I
sure.
mean, and he does when he comes on his commercial, he's got more of that accent where he's like, "Hey, listen, on day one, I'm gonna make things better for you," that kind of thing. Where she's like, "I'm gonna lower your costs," and it's like, are you running for governor of New Jersey, or I don't know where they talk like that?
Okay, okay.
No, she's
Well,
from Virginia originally.
maybe that's we should get in touch with their campaign.
Yeah, I think there should be some coaching. I'm not saying she's got to give it like the W, right? The course. No, no, you got to go all that far, right? But can you speak it in a more neutral way that sounds like you might be from the area? Costs? Can you say costs?
Yeah.
She doesn't say,
I,
she doesn't say costs. She says
I really
costs.
think, I really think there could be potential here that uh, we could do a workshop based off of this article
Yes,
for campaigns and for politicians. Um, because this is the details are here. You know, I think it's really possible that we could do something like that.
I agree. I agree.
Um,
And not just on this article. I think that could be
no,
a
no,
good
in
starting
general,
point.
but this would be
Yeah,
a good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Um,
listen, I speak a little bit from experience too when I was asking where do we draw that line because I was advised in the past to be super colloquial to the point where I pushed back. I was like, that's a little too much, right? Like
right,
someone said I should get on the mic and be like, hey, how's it going? I'm Mike Scala, but I don't even talk like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm
right, right.
trying to sound like a street dude, from whatever. Like, no, like I'm still gonna be myself. And yeah,
Authenticity matters.
authenticity. I did go to college, I went to law school, and I'm not gonna hide that. I'm not gonna act like I'm some kind of schmuck. So there is that, but I'm also not using these overly
So
intellectual.
if you don't go to college, you're a schmuck. Is that what you're saying there, Mr. Scala?
No, not at all. But that they wanted me to act like I was some kind of schmuck, right?
Right.
Like who didn't have any sense of etiquette or sensibilities, right?
So here's a another comment here. They're saying um some Dems do just fine, many don't. If you're speaking of consumers rather than citizens, you're doing it wrong, for example. A big part of the appeal for Bernie Sanders is that he doesn't mince words. Policy aside, more Democrats ought to at least take his lead in message delivery. What do you think about that?
I'm not sure why they would use him as an example there. His
I
message?
mean, I can see he doesn't really use the jargon. He tries to speak
Yes.
straight too. You know who else I think is really good, and we've talked about it before, Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he's really good
But
at
then why
that.
is he not connecting with black voters?
I think part of it is being homosexual.
He's got 0% approval or 0% support amongst the black community. That's crazy.
I think part of it is being homosexual, and I don't know. Also, I don't know how much he's done to try to engage with black voters. He's been very general about his engagement. I don't know about his
But
specific
I got to tell
mission.
you, Bernie falls into that same trap a little bit. He polled very low with black voters, I think, for
Mm,
some of the same reason. He never really tried to engage directly. He tried to make it more
right,
broad, and he would say, like,
right,
that message should resonate with you too. But I think a lot of voters want
right,
something a little more specific, right? To
right.
spoke to them more directly.
Right, because different communities have different,
Yeah,
needs and things
yeah.
that they're concerned
And,
about,
and
along with the general
yes,
stuff.
and even if the issues have a lot of overlap, the
Right.
language might differ a little bit. The language, the way these issues are approached or talked about might
Yes.
be a bit different. And so I don't think Bernie connects on that level. I do see what you mean about not sounding overly intellectual. Maybe he tries to speak in a way that the average person could relate to. Okay, I can see that. At the same time, I kind of roll my eyes with a lot of his stuff too, because they'll just keep repeating a lot of the same words that
Sure.
it's like he's like a broken record. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, somebody here's adds to the list.
Mm-hmm.
Um, said, let's add oligarchy to the list.
As okay, so the list of words we should not be saying.
Right.
Okay,
What do you think about that?
is that a word that is even said that often? I've heard it a few times.
These days, I think,
Really?
because we're looking at
All
an
right.
oligarchy type of
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
But I wonder how many people commonly will understand the meaning of oligarchy.
Well, isn't that part of the problem? A lot of these words, a lot of people aren't going to understand, and so
Right.
when people hear them said, they tune out.
Right. I mean, thing with oligarchy, authoritarianism,
Mm-hmm.
fascism,
Fascism, yeah.
right? Um,
Then on
these
the
are
other
very
side,
common words and they're very real what we're
right,
facing, but how
right.
many people actually can define them correctly? You
And
know what I
so
mean?
is that a reason to continue using them or to not continue using them?
Well, that's the question, right? So someone here says ignoring the word, talking about oligarchy, won't make the thing go away. So where do you fall there, right? You have to talk about it because it's what's happening. But if people aren't understanding and it sounds like jargon
You
and
know what
technical
though?
speak, they might push them away. Do you try to educate the public on those words or do you talk about it a different way?
Yeah, I think you can address the issues, the underlying issues that are creating the atmosphere, the environment that we have, right? It's not like
Right,
you have to go to Congress and repeal the oligarchy law that we put in place. No, these are systems, right? And so you can
right,
talk about the issues that are at play that have all
right,
contributed to the climate that we're in, right? Talk about the issues. And so you don't have to talk about them in some obscure kind of esoteric way, right? And use these
right,
academic words. Like we said last week, instead of saying things like, too many people are suffering from food insecurity. You can just say, man, a lot of folks don't know where the next meal is coming from. And
right, right.
now
Very
you,
plain, very simple.
yeah, and now you're addressing these same issues. You're getting to hunger, right? And making sure
Right,
people can eat, working towards that. And when you start tackling all of these issues, and you start making progress in all these different areas, you are working towards undoing these systems with these fancy names.
right.
You don't have to be talking about them if people don't understand what they mean.
I think Obama did that well also.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Um, yeah, someone here the person follow up and said that who said anything about ignoring it? The Democrats need to start talking like average people instead of intellectuals. The average reading level for US adults is around seventh or eighth grade. Using words like billionaires or rich people in power instead of words like oligarchy reach more people. So they supported
Yeah.
their.
But honestly, though, I might add billionaires to that list. And
You
that's
think
not,
so? It's a triggering word, I think.
yes, not because people don't know what that means, but because it's so politically charged that a lot of people will start tuning it out, right? It's, yeah, for a lot of people it resonates. Oh, those damn billionaires. And for a lot of people, it's like, oh, there they go again, scapegoating, pointing fingers. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah, yeah, it's a
people
triggering type of
automatically,
word.
yeah, yeah. And I think it does more harm than good, right? Because if you're trying to find that common ground, if you're trying to speak to people and get people on board with your message, why use words and phrasing that it's just going to turn so many people away?
And you know what I think? When you talk about billionaires and millionaires,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times people people see or have this hopeful belief that at some point they can be that. And so when you start to demonize
Right.
millionaires and billionaires, some people will look at it like, oh, well, when I get there, I don't want to have to
What
deal with
was
that.
what was the phrase? Everyone is just a temporarily inconvenienced millionaire.
Yeah, something like that. And so I think that could be a cause for some people to push back. I
But let's
think
be
more
honest, though.
people,
Yes, but I don't think we should be. See, here's part of why I think Democrats lose, because they look at people like that with contempt, and
right,
they shouldn't be, right?
right,
Yes, it's true that most people, statistically speaking, aren't going to get there, but that
right,
doesn't mean that we should act like they shouldn't try, or like we're better than them because they have dreams. And you know what I mean?
right,
That is the American dream. Everyone should be able to access that and take a crack at it, right? Whether they become millionaires or not, or billionaires or not. For us to
right.
be like, oh, like look at you thinking you're going to be rich someday. Like, why should we look at that with contempt? I think we should look at that like, go for it. You should have every
Yeah.
opportunity to make something for yourself.
I think though what I'm trying to get at with why it might be a triggering word is
Mhm.
because people might see themselves in that possibility at some point.
Right.
However, I think if you substitute that for something like corporations, for example, I think more people look at corporations in a negative light and will be
Yeah,
on
but
board to
even
be
that,
like, yeah,
yes. But even that though, I would kind of put corporations in the same bucket as billionaires in the way that they're discussed, because they're used as scapegoats, right? And then they get
yeah,
painted with a broad brush. And no, look, there are a lot of not-for-profit corporations. Or corporation it shouldn't be a dirty word. And I think a lot of people are like, what do you mean? Like, you blame all the ills of society on these corporations? Like, not, I don't
I
know.
think a lot of people agree on that though.
On
In
what?
many. on a negative view of corporations and how corporations
I
are
don't know. I think
controlling
a
our
lo- I think
lives and
I think a
taking
lot of
advantage
people.
of us.
I don't think that's most people though. I think again, it's one of those things you're going to turn off too many people if you start saying, corporations, generally speaking, are the reason why society is in a place where it is. No, it comes off as phony. It comes off like you're scapegoating. Like let's get to the actual root causes of these issues, not just try to point a finger at some vague concept and say because that's honestly that's what people do when they're trying to rile you up and they're trying to manipulate you, right? They try to get you to hate something or somebody and say they're the reasons why you are in a position where you're in. Right?
Mm,
I don't think we want to be doing that, and I think it comes off as disingenuous and manipulative when people start using that language.
right. Someone here says no one wants to be lectured to, even if they're in agreement.
Sure, sure. You want to
So,
speak with, right? Not speak with, speak to, not speak at.
not at.
Yeah.
Right. Well, here's one here. I want to get your thoughts on this
Mhm.
comment here. The Democratic Party has a lack of billionaire-owned media problem. What is messaging? Is the problem the actual wording or the ability to broadcast the message and the frequency of the message being repeated or lack thereof?
See, there you go. I kind of tuned it out when he said billionaire. I'll be honest. What does that have to do with anything?
He's saying that the Democratic Party's
Right.
issue is not necessarily messaging, it's being able to disseminate it like the conservatives do. They have like Fox News and they can spread that everywhere. Um, so
Most of the media is on the left. I understand that the biggest ones like Fox really, and then
mm,
I guess the Post the biggest newspaper. I don't know, but I
I don't
understand.
know.
But look at most of look at the New York Times, look at CNN, MSNBC, look at all of your local affiliates. Shout out to Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. I mean, most of what you see on TV really is catered to the
Shout
left.
out to Public Enemy.
Yes, performing.
Yeah.
I don't think the problem is that Democrats just can't get their message out there. I don't think that's the problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's their message
Yeah,
is
yeah.
often. I've never heard of third way. This is the first time
Mhm.
hearing of third way, but one comment here said the third way trying to be helpful? Question mark. Well, that's a new twist for them. And then someone followed up, yeah, screw those guys. People like them are why we're at this point today.
Okay.
So maybe they've said some things in the past that we don't know about.
I don't know. I had thoughts that they came out of kind of that Bill Clinton election cycle. I don't know if that's when they were founded, but I think that's what the third way refers to,
Right.
where it's like you don't have to be a stereotypical conservative or liberal. There's a third way.
Yeah. Someone said, I agree with some more than others. Many are just lame to begin with and are totally unsuited for everyday conversation, which is what one should be having with voters.
Right.
Has anyone anywhere ever actually said chest feeding? They shouldn't have. Yikes. For example, food insecurity is nice and academic when studying the issues surrounding it, but voters relate more to the word hunger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's generally what same things we've been saying over and over.
Right. Well, what was the phrase that you would hear? People don't remember what you say; they remember how you
Yep.
made them feel.
Right, right.
And I think that has usefulness in this conversation as well, because, like you said, a word like hunger gives you more of an emotional response. That makes you feel, right? If you start saying food insecurity or even something like food desert, I'm not saying these are not real things, but when you start using language like that, you're taking a lot of the emotion, I think, out of it because you're making it more intellectual. You're making it more academic.
Right, right.
And people are more motivated in life to act on emotion than they are on thought or right on so-called intelligent thought, right? But people follow their heart more than their mind, and that's especially true when it comes to voting, right? So if you want to get voters motivated to get off their ass, you don't want to give them a college lecture. You want to make them
Right,
feel something, right? You want to motivate them viscerally, right, in their heart,
right,
in their gut, right, not
right.
just in their head.
Yeah.
Right. So when you use language that takes it away, takes the emotion out of it, and you just make
Yeah.
it dry, right? You're doing yourself a disservice, right? Because you're not motivating them the same way you would if you're appealing to their emotion.
Right. So someone here, these next two comments actually kind of speak to that point. They said, in general, more concrete terminology is better than more abstract terminology for getting attention and getting your point across.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah,
I mean,
I
think
think
about
that's
it. Think about like what sounds more emotion. What would drive more emotion from you? Saying that uh, babies are starving, or too many of our youth are suffering from food insecurity.
right. Yeah, babies are starving is
Babies are
much
starving has
more
a much
emotional.
more right emotional response naturally.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one. I'm not sure I completely agree here. I do agree on some of it. Maybe his examples are a little off, but he says the only thing Republicans are good at is propaganda, framing everything in direct, emotionally loaded terms. I agree. That's why they keep winning. Democrats need to learn these same skills. Don't denounce the Republicans' tax cuts for the rich. People love tax cuts. Even if they're not rich, they think it will somehow benefit them. Call them welfare for billionaires. People
Again,
hate
but
both
no,
welfare and billionaires.
no,
Don't say authoritarians,
they're in
say
an echo
dictator.
chamber. Most people, a, a lot of people aren't going to be as repulsive
Yeah.
to billionaires as they are.
Yeah, I don't think this welfare for billionaires is a good term here.
That's something that would get applause in retweet threads or whatever.
Right.
Right? That's not something most voters are gonna appeal, gonna rock with. It's gonna be like, what? Welfare for billionaires. Again, it just sounds like scapegoating.
Right. It goes further on to say, don't say tariffs. Many
Mhm.
people don't really know how they work. Call them the Trump tax that he's forcing you to pay. We can use simple, direct, emotionally powerful words that connect with people while still being truthful and accurate. What do you
Yeah.
think about this, calling the tariffs the Trump tax?
Uh, I do think that you want to educate people on what tariffs are because too many people don't know like, who pays them and how it actually drives products costs up. Some
Are
people,
you are you looking at the screen at the same time?
what do you mean?
This is the second time, and the point that you've
Uh,
raised is what the next comment is about.
oh, for real? No,
Yeah.
but I'm good today. You saw that I got the percentages pretty close.
Yeah, you're killing it. This
Yeah.
person said if people don't know what big words mean, we can always explain their definitions when they ask. Who could
Yeah.
object to that?
Well, yeah.
But
But
it's
again, you don't want to come
you
off
don't
like
want to be yeah, you want to be a lecture when you're trying to
yeah,
reach out to people.
yeah. And you kind of already lost. I don't know. It depends on the context, right? Obviously, if you're in a classroom, it's one thing. Yeah, then you're there for a lecture. But
Yes.
if you're trying to get voters on your side, if you're trying to make, and again, a lot of this is an emotional appeal. If you say some term they don't know and they say, well, what does that mean? And then you tell them, and they're like, oh, at that point, okay, maybe you're educating them on a definition, but have you won their heart? Are you going to win them?
Right.
Right? They might
Right.
leave that exchange thinking, oh, maybe I learned a new term today, but have you
Right.
motivated them to vote or support your cause at that point? Right? They might still look at you as some kind of intellectual jerk who thinks they're better than you.
Right. I think in that regards, like a lot of people still don't understand what tariffs are, how they work, and who pays for them. Um, I think the best way in that regard is to give them an example,
Sure.
right? And have them figure it out. Um, you know, and I've seen a couple people do it online, and one of the examples I always give is like if you say you have a t-shirt company, right?
Mhm.
And then just explain like, all right, if now when it comes in, you have to pay $2 more, are you going to keep your price the same? You
Right.
know, are you going to raise your price to lower your profit? Like,
Yeah.
people are going to automatically say, no, I'm going to have to increase price, so I keep my same profit. Okay, boom,
Right.
there we are.
So that's a tactic. Now you're using not only everyday language, but real world examples. And I
Yeah.
think that enables you to level with someone better than if you were just trying to explain definitions. It's kind of like a
Right.
child. Yeah.
Yeah. So, pretty interesting stuff here. We've gotten to the bottom of the comments here, but
Okay. So
yeah,
we
pretty
find
good.
any real good comments of people arguing against people saying that we should still use these words, like, keep rocking with
Um, the last comment, that person who said, we can explain it to him,
it.
and then they followed up saying, because someone responded to them saying that lots of people would object to that because first you'd have to get them to listen to the explanation after you've already put them off by talking over their heads. And second, using them big words means you're using them big words means you're one of them elites who always talking down to us working folk.
Right.
Better to explain what you mean in simple, direct, but accurate terms to begin with. That was the response. And then the original poster came back and said, so telling people what you mean is bad? Sounds like you're saying that the little guys are naturally ignorant, or is ignorant too big a word to use around the grunts? Funny how these objections seems to be coming from the right of the party. Uh, yeah, someone's either trolling and or stuck in a bubble themselves and not actually listening to what's being said.
Sure. And we get a lot of that.
You like my country accent there? Using them big words means you're
Right.
one of them elites who's always talking down to us working folk.
But here's the thing, and I don't know, maybe that last comment touched on that. Because my question is this: if you avoid these words, can you appeal to more people, even the people who use the words, or the people who normally use those words, not want to hear from you because you're not speaking their language enough? Like you're not using the code words that they want to hear.
I think I think there's a risk of that
Yeah.
as well because like you said, they want to hear these code words because to them that's powerful words. These mean something, right? But
I mean that you agree with them. I think that's what,
right.
yeah.
But it also makes them feel good because they said intersectionality, right? It makes them feel like they know something
They're
that
getting
someone else
points.
doesn't know.
They're getting PPs, progressive points.
Yes, but it doesn't reach most people,
Mm-hmm.
especially when I'm just using intersectionality because if most people don't understand what it means, then you have to explain it. And so now you kind of feel like you're this
Yeah.
authority figure because I've got the knowledge I may impart upon you, you know.
So what should you do then? Should you just avoid using these words and know that by doing so, you're not going to get maybe the support of people who want to hear those words? Or should you try to find a way to reach out to them? To is there a way to bring them in too?
Yeah, sure. I think again, I think we really respond to stories, right? And
Right.
this is giving this is, and what I mean by that is you can do it in examples. You can show that you understand what they're talking about without having to use intersectionality. Or that doesn't mean not say it. It means don't center your conversation around intersectionality.
I'll give
Talk
that a
about
pass.
as the word. Don't, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's not the main focus. You
Yeah.
can mention it as an aside, but the bulk of what you're saying needs to be a more plain way to describe this scenario.
So kind of what you're saying is say it less, but don't eliminate it from your vocabulary altogether.
If I think if you're directly engaged with it,
Mhm. Yeah.
so for example, if you're on the campaign trail and one of these activists, progressives, or someone that routinely uses that within their sphere, you
Mhm.
know, brings that up to you, right? That's the question that they bring to you, right? You might want to throw it back at them in your explanation so they can feel that connection, but that shouldn't be the bulk of it, right? The bulk of it should be to first explain it in plain terms so that everyone listening can understand what you're talking about. And then at the same time, you can, throw that word as a nudge in there so that they feel that you connect as well.
Okay. Okay. The only thing is, I think so many people are just going to be turned off once that word appears. That it's just hard
It
to
could, but
kind of, yeah.
you can't really help it if that's the question directed at you.
If that's the question, right. So you
Right.
shouldn't affirmatively go out of your way, you're saying, but if
Right.
people are using it, then you can, yeah, okay.
Right.
I guess that makes sense. Although, again, going back to centering, right? If I got that question, let's say I'm at some kind of town hall and someone raises their hand, right? And they're like, is your campaign going to center the needs of blah, 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 blah? I'm going to answer the question, but I'm not going to put that in my response. I'm not going to say, yes, I'm going
Right.
to center such. I mean, I'm just not going to use that vocabulary.
Right. Well, I would, yeah, you can talk around that.
Yeah.
I think it matters if how you're engaging with them. If you're answering their question,
Right.
you may not need to use the
Might not.
terminology. If
Right.
they say if your is your campaign going to center the needs of elderly dogs, right? You can start off by saying, I am a dog owner myself. I've had elderly dogs. I think
Say,
it's really important. I'm focused on, you know what I mean? Like
now
you're
here's
showing
what you say.
that you're empathizing with it.
Too many of our old dogs don't know where the next bone is coming from.
Right. Absolutely. There it is.
That's it.
There it is. Um, interesting here. I would have liked to see some comments by people the 32% who said no.
Right.
It seems like it was overwhelmingly from the 68% who said yes, they should stop using these words. I'd like to hear people to say why they shouldn't stop using these words. So,
Sure.
yeah.
All
And
right.
that was one of the reasons why I posted it on my page, hoping to get some engagement. But, sometimes when I put serious stuff on my page, like the algorithm
Yeah.
seems to ignore it.
Yeah. Yeah. By the
So,
way, I guess we're getting on a tangent here, but I heard someone talking recently about the TikTok algorithm and the danger of it. They said, and I haven't tested it in this way, but they were saying that if you try putting certain things on there, like for example, if you made a video talking about the dangers of the Chinese Communist Party, that TikTok
right.
algorithm probably would not show that to many people.
It's possible.
So yeah, talking about who's controlling the messaging and what people are seeing.
Well, we're about to see that when this split happens with the American TikTok and it's controlled by uh you know the oligarchy.
I see what you did there. And the billionaire
Yeah.
corporations, right?
Yeah. So we're gonna have
I just wish, like, all joking aside, I wish people would just start leveling with us more and stop pointing fingers at things in the sky. And they do that with the government. At least they used to. Maybe people still do. They used to say the government, or like the stereotype was the government, right? Of like some monolithic creature that's almost envisioned to be flying, I think, through the sky, right? And maybe has a laser and is shooting down at the commoners on the ground. That's kind of how these things tend to be discussed. I think that's what people do when they talk about billionaires now or corporations, whatever buzzword you want to put in there, right? It used to be the government or just they. That's what I used to say. There is no they. People used to love saying that. They're doing this. They're doing that. Who is they? You know what I mean? I think we need to stop that and actually level with people about the root causes of some of these problems, because there are a lot of problems out there, but I think scapegoating some mythical creature in the sky isn't the answer, because these
Um,
are not monoliths, right? I mean, I'm not saying, for example, that no billionaire has contributed to the problem. No, of course not. But when you start making these broad generalizations and acting like everyone who fits a certain category is a monolith, I think
right.
you lose people.
I think in definitely in ways that definitely is true.
Banks is another one, right? I see that a lot of people feel that, right? When you blame banks for everything. The banks again. And like, yeah, the banks. A lot of people are like, what do you mean the banks? Like, keep my money in a bank. It's, I got a safe deposit box there. I've been
I
working
think
for
it
myself
depends on the
for 30
content.
years. You know what I mean? Like,
It depends on the content of what you're saying, though, because in some situations it is the banks that are
right.
doing something. It depends on what you're
I'm
talking
talking
about.
about when you're speaking in broad strokes. Like, I've seen someone do this. They were like, what do you think about the banks? And they were like, what do you mean? What do I think about the banks? They're banks. So, they're good banks. They're bad banks. Sometimes they do good things. Sometimes they do bad things. I keep my money in the bank. I got a lot of account. I got a checking account with a bank. What do you mean? What do I think? But some people hear the word bank and that's like, it's their rallying cry. The same way with billionaires and corporations and the government and right? They put it in that bucket. And I think a lot of people think that's like their secret to motivating people. Yeah, we got to get these banks. And a lot of people just like, that doesn't mean anything to them.
Mm, it could be. It could be. I think, yeah, I'd say like the bottom line here
Yeah, go for it.
is just like what we talked about last week and throughout this here is that you want to reach the most people. You try to talk to people how they understand. You try to reach them at their level. If you're a teacher, you don't, and you know trigonometry,
Right.
you don't teach algebra in trigonometry terms. You teach it in algebra terms, right? You speak to the level where they're at. And so these words and different jargon have their place, but may not have their place in the general discourse.
Mm.
A lot of people don't understand what you're talking about, right? You don't want to be in a situation where you're talking down to people or talking
Right.
at people if you were trying to connect with people.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I agree. And to add to that also, I think to some people, when they hear this jargon, they think that your priorities don't match theirs. And that might not
Mm,
even be entirely true, right? Maybe you
mm.
do have a lot of the same priorities, but that's the impression people get. You care about something different than what I care about.
Right. Yes. Yes. Agreed. Agreed. All right. Very interesting stuff here. Very interesting stuff. Appreciate all the comments and the votes
The
that
votes,
came
yes.
in. The people that are on the live as well. Um, appreciate all of that. And in the chat. So we had what was it? A couple of comments in the chat as well.
Okay.
So yeah, appreciate all of that. Go subscribe to the channel. Where can they find us?
They can find us wherever podcasts can be found. And on social media, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, and we have a Facebook page now as well. Nuance with Mike Scala and Jay Carter. Join the conversation.
All right, now say the thing. You got to say the
I
thing.
didn't think, I didn't think. Uh, I wonder if I can say the thing in one of these overly academic ways, like
Mm.
alas, there remain.
Now,
You
are you from like
know
Middle Earth?
what I mean? If you can do it, you gotta do it. I was thinking more like Shakespearean.
Um,
Alas, there remain many. I was going to say demasiado, but that's Spanish. I don't want to go Spanish. Too many functions left for us to perform in order to move our systems in a more beneficial and positive direction, such that more of our populace can be centered and feel better about their lives, that their lives are improving in an intersectional kind of way. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, but we've got work to
it,
do. Let's put it like that. We've got
it
work.
sounds like it sounds like a word salad. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was the point. I was trying to come up with a good word.
There is an abundance of tasks
There
yet
are an abundance
yet
of tasks to
fulfilled
perform.
that require our immediate and scholarly attention.
Yes, there are an abundance of tasks to perform in such manner.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you all
So.
for checking us out. Hopefully, you catch us next time. Good night.